Adjunct Professor Moran, Microeconomics 112. We're going to complete this handout by graphing average fixed cost, average variable cost, and average total cost, and then exploring some relationships between them. This is really where we want to be, because this graph is going to be determining the price quantity output decisions of the different types of business competitors: pure competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, monopoly. So we're going to graph it. It's going to look a little chunky, but eventually you should be able to freehand these. And the graph, as a spoiler alert, is going to look something like this that we're going to freehand. So marginal cost is going to be always a check mark. And then average variable cost is going to go down. It's going to be like a saucer, but it's going to minimize there and then rise. This is average variable cost. And average total cost will go down, minimize where it crosses average, where it crosses marginal cost, and then rise. And this will be average total cost. And these two curves should get closer as they move further out for reasons that we'll eventually discuss. But this is what we're going to use for the four types of business competitors to determine price, quantity, output decisions. But before we make those decisions, we're going to have to add revenue, which is not part of this chapter. This chapter is only about costs. So let's go ahead and start graphing our marginal cost. So I'll write the outputs over here so we can see them. Alright, so at 100 we have 7, 200 is 6. They got a little too many lines on this, so let's see cross-eyed. 300 is 5, 400 is 6, 500 is 7, 600 is 720. That's interesting. And 700 is 880. Okay, so we're going to connect these. And this is your marginal cost curve. Alright, we're going to draw it smoothly as a check mark. Alright, now let's graph our average fixed cost. At 100 we have 500, 200, 250, 300 is $1.67, 400 $1.25, 500 $1, 600 is 83 cents, and 700 is 71 cents. And this is your average fixed cost curve. Okay, know that average fixed cost curve continually declines. As fixed cost is spread over more and more unit, its average falls. Now let's calculate average variable cost. 100 is 7, 200 is 650, 300 is $6, 400 is $6, 620, 637, and 671. Okay, let's connect these curves. Okay, so this is your average variable cost curve. The average variable cost curve is going to minimize at where it crosses marginal cost, and we'll discuss why that's true in a minute. And I know I say minimize. Theoretically, I should be drawing these on the half points, and that's why it'll minimize actually over here. I should have put this in this point. Let's not sweat the small stuff. Okay, now let's do our average total cost curve. And at 100 we have $12, 200 is $9. 300 is $7.67. 400 $7.25. 500 is $6.20. 600 is $7.20. 600 is $7.20. Oh, right there. And 700 is $7.42. I'm seeing cross-eyed here. Okay, 400 is $7.25. 7.25. 500 is $6.20. Yeah, this one. This one, 400. 7.25. And that should be $6. So this is going to go like this. This is your average total cost. So both of this average total cost and average variable cost are going to minimize where it crosses the marginal cost curve. And we can use your grade again as an analogy. As long as if every next time you take a test your score goes down, your average is going to go down if those scores are below the average. Every time you take a test and your next test score goes up, your average is still going to go down if your next test score, even if increasing, is below the average. But once your test scores, which you can think of as your marginal cost, crosses over your average will start to rise. That means that at this point, this looks terribly complicated, but for all you have to do is draw an L, a check mark, a saucer, and another saucer, and then put them on one graph. So when you're drawing these, you want to be careful and make sure that this average variable cost curve is crossing the marginal cost curve at its minimum. You don't start rising again. And similarly with the average total cost, you want this to be a minimum. Okay. How is marginal cost represented in 26.2? Marginal cost is the slope of both the total cost curve and the variable cost curve. Since fixed cost is constant, these have the same slope, and so this change is marginal cost. All right. Average total cost is a minimum. Average total cost is a minimum at 500 units. We can see that from the table here. Average total cost is a minimum at 500 units. And that's about where, again, I should have shifted some of these over. This marginal cost curve should be shifted over just a little bit. And so this actually should have happened over here. All right. Average variable cost per unit achieves a minimum. Average variable cost someplace between 300 and 400 units. Right? It's dipping. So here's 300, here's 400, and it's dipping in the middle. And so 300 to 400, there it is. Average variable cost is minimized where marginal cost intersects it. What's the relationship between marginal cost and average total cost? When average total cost is at a minimum, they're equal. Okay, so these curves will, at their minimum, average total cost will equal marginal cost, where marginal cost breaks through. Average variable cost will be at a minimum, where marginal cost breaks through. Okay, we have some comments on long-run costs next. So these were all short-run costs, and all of these cost curves have the shape they do because of the principle of diminishing marginal returns. Increasing returns, diminishing returns, and then eventually negative returns. All right? Similarly here, variable cost is more sensitive to changes in marginal cost because it's not weighed down by fixed. So it achieves a minimum first. Then later, average total cost will achieve its minimum. But again, we have the idea of increasing returns, and then diminishing returns and negative returns, shaping why these curves are shaped the way they are.